what are the core principles that guide you?
I think trust is a big one, and communication.
At what point in your project, Sam, do you bring accessibility into the conversation?
I mean, in the beginning, not always on the forefront, but over time, once we realized the importance of understanding the complexities of.
So, Sam, do you believe with accessibility we can open up to new markets, have new customer segments being explored that are often overlooked?
Oh, I absolutely 100% believe that. I think there's so many individuals who.
So, Sam, what do you think are the top 3 reasons for projects to fail? Do you ever wonder why projects fail? Or why some teams ship smooth, inclusive products while others drown in miscommunication and rework? And do you secretly wish you had a blueprint, not just to deliver projects, but to deliver them in a way that welcomes everyone? If you said yes to any one of those, you are in the right place. Today's guest, Sam, has mastered that exact balance. She has spent years at the intersection of data, enterprise products, and inclusion, turning obstacles into purpose. By the end of this conversation, you will know how she manages complex projects, embed accessibility from day one, and leads teams that don't just deliver, but deliver with impact. But before we dive in, drop it in the comments. What's the one thing you want to learn today about project management or accessibility? Do like this video and share it with your friends who can benefit from it. Now, if you have been around this channel, you know I love bringing people who completely change the way you think about work and leadership. And today's guest is one of those people for me. Sam and I have known each other for almost a decade. We have collaborated, problem solved, laughed, and even stressed a little, all to create systems that work for everyone. Today, we are going to learn from Sam not just about accessibility, but also making a career switch into project management and what it takes to lead big enterprise projects with empathy and precision. Hey Sam, good to see you. How are you?
Hey, Varun. I'm good. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a minute, Sam, since we last connected. It's hard to believe it's almost we used to connect every single day, and now we are meeting after a decade.
I know. It's unreal. A lot of time has passed, but it's so good to see you. I'm happy to be here with you.
Thanks, Sam. And you know, we had Chantel last week, and she shared amazing nuggets on how she approaches design from accessibility lens.
That's nice. Nice. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. I believe we should do a podcast, the three of us, to
We
answer any questions that our viewers have.
Yes. Well, you shared that you guys met, and actually that came to mind as well. So I think the three of us maybe have a future in this together as well. So that would be fun. I'd be down.
Yeah, so for our viewers who are watching this, put it in the comments if you want us three live on this channel. We will take a call then. So, Sam, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience who is new to this podcast, if you want to share yourself in 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah. So my name is Sam Heck, and I am located in Olympia, Washington, and I currently work for the Healthcare Authority here in the state of Washington as their enterprise data product owner. So I work with a team of engineers and business analysts and metadata analysts who build and manage the warehouse that stores the data for Medicaid, Medicare, PEB, and SEB here in the state of Washington. So, yeah, I don't know what more to add to that, but
Yeah, that's good enough, Sam. So, in today's conversation, our audience is looking forward to learning from you on how they can make a career switch into project management. And I'm really looking forward to the insights that you are going to share today. So, Sam, can you walk us through your journey? What actually set you on the road to project management and product ownership?
it's funny, on reflecting on this, I was thinking back and, my journey actually started in design, right? So I went to school in college for design, web design, UI, UX, etc. Um, then when starting my career at the Health Benefit Exchange, I was working on the communications team, managing their website and homepage and communications. And I was quite literally in a meeting one day, and our team was talking about this content management system, and it was going to be this agile project. And we had, 15 or 20 people in this meeting, and they asked, who's going to be the product owner of this. And my boss looked over at me and she's like, Sam's going to be the product owner. And I was sitting in this room with all these executives and people, and I quite literally Googled, what is a product owner? I had no idea. Like, I was completely new to this concept. And so what I'll say is that it was definitely an abrupt um transition for me, from going, from this place of design, communications, and UI UX to this world of product ownership, albeit it was in the field that I was working in, right? In content management. I understand content management systems, but um ultimately it was, was a nice little gift that was given to me during a meeting, and Googled it. And really from there, I just had to learn as much as humanly possible about being a product owner. I was, looking for training and videos. And, I was actually the first person at the Health Benefit Exchange to become a product owner. So there was no one in the exchange who was doing this. Nobody, we didn't have any agile teams or anything. So really that's how it happened. And so it kind of fell in my lap, to be honest. But I would say, for somebody looking for transitioning, it's absolutely possible. It's just a matter of, taking the reins and learning about how to do this and find the resources and training and materials to, um, learn as much as possible and just put yourself in. So yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, so you touched upon very couple of things that are very interesting. Your boss took the right call and then you delivered on it, right? And
Yes.
and you got ready on the job, right? You had no prior experience. As you said, you Googled it and then you learned about it. And
Yeah.
I must tell you, she's one of the purest product owners or product managers that I have ever worked on. So you will get a lot to learn from her today.
Yeah, it was kismet for sure. I was meant to do this, and now, 10 years later, I've been doing it ever since. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I'm so grateful that happened. Albeit at the time I was mortified, terrified of the unknown, but I am so grateful that that happened now, and I really love this job and what I do. So it's fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Sam, along the way, since you were not aware what product management is or product ownership is, did you find a mentor who really shaped how you approach these big enterprises IT projects?
I did. Same person actually who assigned me this product ownership. I think you'll remember Nellie,
Yes.
right? Yes. The amazing Nellie. She was my boss at the time, and she was actually the one who decided that I would be the product owner on this project. And I would say she was heavily influencing, how I operated in my day-to-day role. She had a way of managing people and projects. It was really all about empowering people to figure it out. I remember going to her and asking her how to do something, or, you know, um, bringing a challenge or a question with her or to her, and she would just always be this place of, inquisitive conversation and curiosity, but she never would give you the answer. So I remember leaving many times from her office, and she she would never tell me exactly what to do. Um, and I would say that, though, because she did that, I was able to learn so much more and grow so much more exponentially over time in such a short period of time, because I really needed to. given what I was, given.
Mm-hmm.
And, she was definitely a mentor in that space. And it really helped me see that we're capable of figuring things out.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is figure outable. And as a mentor, she really showed me that.
Yeah.
She didn't just give me the easy way out and tell me exactly what to do and etc. So, I would say she heavily influenced how I operate now with my
Mm-hmm.
games. So,
I truly believe she empowered you rather than giving you a fish. She taught you how to catch a fish,
yes, yes,
right? So
yes.
again, for viewers watching, having a mentor is critical to succeed in your career because they help you walk the path that they have already walked and help you understand how to fish for it.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
So Sam, I'm also curious. So what's one early challenge that you ran into? I'm sure you had plenty of those starting out as a fresh product owner. But if you can recall just one challenge.
I think an early challenge actually as a product owner, it kind of relates to this mentorship where, my mentor was, I was hoping that she would tell me what to do. So I think in the
Mhm,
beginning, as a product owner, I was very much in a space of, thinking that I needed to be the one to tell everyone how to do things or like what needed to be done, like making all the
mhm,
decisions. And I think there's a balance to it. I think, though, that was one of the things I learned early on in my career that wasn't necessarily the best for everyone and for the team and for the project.
mhm,
I think over the years, really trusting your team is key and really leaning on other people on your team to come to a consensus together and not seeing yourself as like, oh, I'm the sole product owner. I am the one,
mhm,
the almighty that makes all the decisions. So I think that's something I learned early on in my
yeah,
career was really the lesson of humbling yourself and
mhm,
working as a team instead of thinking, because I think when you get into product ownership, you feel so responsible
yeah,
to make decisions and you feel like it's all on you. So sometimes you can get a little stressed and
mhm,
you have to make certain calls and sometimes you have to move really quickly. Um, but at the same time, I think what I learned was that sometimes you need to slow down and work with your
mhm.
team and lean on your team and trust your
Right.
team. So I would say that's probably one of the earlier
Mhm.
lessons I learned.
Well,
Um,
that's I believe the true lesson for any new product owner as well, Sam. Right, providing or distributing responsibilities among the team members.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and I believe that's completely tie into the next question that I have for you, Sam. Is what do you think about your work as a product owner, and what are the core principles that guide you?
I think trust is a big one,
Mhm,
and communication. I think communication is really key. Communicating with your team, communicating with stakeholders, communicating with everyone
mhm,
regularly to make sure everyone's on the same page. I think transparency, telling people information when it is relevant and it needs to be shared. If someone needs to
mhm,
pivot or if a project is changing or something is no longer happening, just really being transparent with people and bringing them along the way. I think that's a key principle. I think
mhm,
trust, like I've been mentioning, just trusting your team to make decisions. I think early on, like I mentioned, when I started out, I was very heavily hands-on during the whole process,
mhm,
I mean, what some might call micromanaging. And I don't know if it was that I didn't trust my team, but that's how it was perceived, I think.
mhm,
So I think now um, really having the principle of trust and sharing the information, making sure there's a common understanding, and then letting your team do their thing, letting the magic happen, and kind of sitting back and waiting and anticipating the next moves and stuff. So I
mhm.
think trust, transparency, communication, um, and honestly, I think rest.
Okay.
I think there's a principle that I personally on my team am all about, which is rest and self care and making sure people are caring for themselves. I know that might sound
Mhm,
a little off and a little bit crazy, but I know when you're on an agile team, things can be very fast moving and can be very
Yeah.
overwhelming. And quite literally the work never stops, right? There's always something to do next, right? There's always
Mm-hmm.
something more in the backlog. So I think really being in tune with your team
Mm-hmm.
and seeing when, everybody is different. Some people know how to rest when it's time to
Yeah.
rest. Some people will burn out quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really like understanding your team and acknowledging when someone might need help, or maybe there's some balance that needs to be restored, or maybe a pause in a cycle
Mm-hmm.
after sprint. So I would say that's one of my principles too, is really just honoring people and what they need when it comes to their just personal selves. That they're not just this workhorse here to finish everything in the backlog as quickly as
Yeah.
possible, that they're human beings, with lives. So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
another principle too I'd like to mention
Yeah.
as
Well,
well.
that's interesting. So you mentioned about trust, transparency, communication, and rest, right? And you also touched upon the concept of agile, wherein we are delivering every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So,
Mhm.
in such a fast paced delivery model, Sam, how do you make sure everyone among your developers, designers, and executives, they all stay aligned on the same goals?
Mhm. I think it's regular communication that's key.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on teams where we've had meetings a little more irregularly, with the whole group, or maybe there's one group that's meeting regularly. And I think what I've noticed over time is the most successful teams are the ones who are meeting regularly. So we have, for example, a weekly meeting with executives, with our like top, our leaders of our group and our team, talking about initiative strategy. It's all the leads and supervisors and managers of the team. And then we also have like a team check-in. So my direct reports, we check in weekly. We also have the broader group checking in and, stand-ups during the week, which we have free
Mm-hmm.
of during the week. We don't do daily anymore because it's a lot. So we do every 3 days a week. And then we also have a refinement where everyone gets together weekly. So I would say regular occurring meetings or ceremonies where everyone's getting
Mm-hmm.
together. Um, there was a time where executives were not meeting with the broader group, and there was definitely a huge disconnect. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say it's really critical that from the top down, there's at least one opportunity to meet, I would say at least weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We do monthly sprints, so, it's pretty fast moving. Some people do 2-week sprints. I mean, I would see
Yeah.
probably needing to meet more than once a week if you have such a fast sprint, if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
big cycle, but I think just regular communication is definitely key, and keeping everyone on the same page.
Yeah.
And then as the product owner, keeping the stakeholders included in those conversations. We usually don't have them in those regular occurring meetings, but
Mm-hmm.
as things come up, making sure to keep the stakeholders in the loop on any emerging information as it's happening, and kind of anything coming out of those meetings is communicated or,
Mm-hmm.
cycled through the people who need to know. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
regular communication for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, keeping everyone in the loop, it depends upon
Yeah.
the cadence. You can have weekly cadence with executives, regular
Yeah.
cadence with your direct
Yeah.
reportees.
Yep.
Ah,
Yep.
awesome. And in your experience, Sam, because we always say small habits always lead to larger impacts, right? So,
Mhm.
what all are those little habits that separate effective product owners from the rest of
Mhm.
them?
I mean, I have many small personal habits. So I'm trying to think like, okay,
That's
what are
that's
some
okay.
personal habits? I type the J.
Yeah.
I mean, versus the ones that are more product owner related.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe they're intertwined. Maybe they're intertwined, right? I would
Mm-hmm.
say, being grounded, like
Mm-hmm.
finding ways to stay grounded just as an individual, right? When you're leading the ship or leading this group of people, you
Yeah.
really need to be grounded and
Yeah.
in a headspace where, you've got clarity, um, peace, and energy to share with others, in a way that they trust you and they respect you and they can kind of come along for the journey, with you in a way that's not super stressful. So I think grounding, I mean, that's a big part of my daily rituals. Um, and it definitely impacts my work, right? So I think as a product owner, it can get stressful at times, especially when things change. I mean, we've literally had in the last few weeks complete programs getting shut down or projects we've been working on for 3 years all of a sudden are defunded, right? So it's really being able to stay grounded and lead your team through any change that is coming in a way that doesn't have everyone panicking and stressed out and freaked out, right? So I think that as a habit, I would say is a small habit. Well, it does take some dedication, but it's a small habit that has a huge impact on being a product owner. In my past, I can say I was not grounded as a product owner. I was highly stressed, highly emotional, highly driven, but just not grounded, And so when you're highly stressed and you're bringing that to your team, your team's going to be stressed, and you just don't get the same results that way. So I think as an individual, just finding ways to stay grounded and to rest, when needed as well, so that you can come back and be your best self for your team. Other habits, hmm. I would say definitely just building relationships with people. I think product ownership is heavily related to relational um, experiences, either with stakeholders or with your team. So staying connected, So for example, I have one-on-ones with my direct team every 2 weeks, and then we have a team meeting every week. We do fun little icebreakers, and we say what are our highs and lows of the week, and how are we caring for ourselves this week, and just like connected. And that makes a huge difference as well. So I would say that's another just small habit. I mean, it's a 30-minute meeting where we're meeting with the team, but a small little meeting that makes a huge impact for all of us. So I would say that's another one that I would mention.
Absolutely. And I do recall our ice breaking sessions back in the day, Sam. So those were really fun.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah. You also spoke about building relationships, Sam. And in our last podcast with Chantel, she spoke about building relationships before you need them, right? So that's really powerful for a product owner to have.
Yeah, I would agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Sam, what do you think are the top three reasons for projects to fail?
Well, first, I would say funding, which, you know,
That's obvious.
strong. Okay, let's just be honest. Um, second, um, God, it's hard to say. I mean, when thinking about this question and just reflecting, I honestly, because we're agile, I believe that we can constantly adapt, right? So, like, even if we don't hit the mark, we can have a redo, right? Like, can adapt. We can hear feedback if something's not working or something isn't right or something didn't quite hit the mark. We can always circle back. We can always evolve. So part of me feels like failure is definitely possible, but I would say it's a little less of a failure in agile because it's not the end, right? It's a continuous improvement. It's like continuously evolving. Whether you fail the first round, you'll have another round typically, where you can redeem yourself. I know that's not always the case for everyone, but in more of like the waterfall fashion or somebody who might be more hybrid, um, I would say just the importance of having everyone on the same page in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, making sure there's a common understanding
Yeah.
of what the end goal is or what the problems we're trying to solve are, and really bringing people along for that process who need to be in that process. I think
Right.
failure can happen with like a lack of understanding of like the goals or the problems being solved.
Mm-hmm.
There can be failure around just not having the right people in the room or not
Yeah.
including people that should have been there in the beginning who may or may not agree with what the direction is and have more
Yeah.
power over you and can stop something from happening. So I think, making sure the right people are included in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
making sure there's clear understanding, common understanding, which is definitely a part of the principles of Agile. It's just a
Yeah.
common understanding of what is the goal here and what are we trying to do here together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think when that's not clear and if the people who should have been in the early stages are not present and they show up later,
Yeah.
things can definitely go sideways. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they can fail or they can at least go very sideways for quite a
Yeah.
while. And then it takes a lot of effort and time and energy to get back up and going. But,
Mm-hmm.
I think in Agile, I just believe that it's very adaptable. So there's just
Mm-hmm.
always the continuum. But I would say those are the principles that I would say
Mm-hmm.
would, potentially stop a project in its tracks is
Yeah.
just that.
Yep, you're right, Sam. In Agile, the room for failure is very less, right? Um, but what if you have dependencies on other teams? Will that be considered as one of the possible reasons for your team's failure?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, that's always a potential risk.
Mm-hmm.
I think having those teams in conversation with those teams up front
Yeah.
and also understanding the risks,
Mm-hmm.
or the dependencies. I mean, when you've got your backlog and you're working on something, really understanding that if your team's working on a backlog and it's really highly dependent on another team, like,
Yeah.
should it really be in our backlog if someone else is actually the responsible party for this
Mm-hmm.
work?
Yeah.
Um, so I know there's definitely been situations where we've had things blocked, right? Because it's another team's responsible for something. So we definitely lean towards creating backlog items that our team is in control of and our team can take control of and work on and achieve
Yeah.
collectively within our own team. When it's
Mm-hmm.
somebody else from the outside, we less often will even add them into our backlog. It's more of a
Mm-hmm.
item or an action item for somebody and definitely is a dependency and a risk, when going into a project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's um, always a risk. I think it's in that case nice to have some level of a project manager across teams, either if it's like, multiple teams or multiple departments. It's really key to have somebody who's like overseeing that, ecosystem and making sure things are getting done or are achievable at best. So,
Sam, let's talk about people and vendor management now. When you're building a team for large enterprises, what qualities do you look for?
mhm. It's interesting. I thought about this question and really dug into the qualities that I would look for in somebody. And it kind of shifted though to more of an interest based
Mm-hmm.
selection. I think on my teams, when I have a really good understanding of who enjoys doing what and who despises doing what
Yeah.
and who excels in XYZ and who excels in XYZ or who wants to try something new or who likes
Yeah.
doing the same thing over and over again. I think understanding your team, like at the engineering level or at the business analyst level, metadata analyst, whoever it might be, developer level, understanding interest on the team and also skills and abilities is really heavily influencing how we're selecting teams when we're looking
Mm-hmm.
at a project. I would say that's definitely what I'm looking for. Not so much qualities. I mean, qualities, yes. I think though I mean, the team that I work on right now is so cool and awesome that they all have amazing qualities. So like integrity,
Mm-hmm.
they work together great as a team. They're kind, they're respectful, they get their stuff done. So in terms of qualities, I guess if I were looking for a particular quality, those would be them. Because the team I'm on has those qualities already inherently, I think I focus more on that interest level and trying to connect people with projects that they would
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing for work, and also what they excel in. So if it's something, extremely technical that we've never done before and it's
Mm-hmm.
innovative, I might tap on a few different people that I know love doing new and innovative stuff, whereas someone else on the team wants nothing to do with that and they want to work on more operational
Yeah.
stuff, which we have. We have some people who do more operational, some people who are more innovative, bleeding edge. It's kind of a spectrum of
Yeah.
individuals. So I'll say that's typically how we do it.
Mhm. So it's basically finding the right fit for your team members, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And when you club that with external vendors or partners that you work with, how do you ensure that everyone stays aligned and accountable?
I think it's back to the regular check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Also documentation and agreements in terms of what is going to be done. I mean, I've worked with vendors where it's like heavily involving contracts and requirements
Yeah.
and writing every detail down. And then on the other hand, contracts where it's a little more ambiguous and it's more conversational. And so it kind of goes both ways. But I think having the relationship and regular communications, check-ins,
Mm-hmm.
is really important when it comes to keeping everyone on the same page and also having a project manager. So,
Yeah.
albeit I'm a product owner, typically when working with a vendor, they'll have a project manager who's
Yeah.
overseeing the whole project, which is very helpful. If there's not a project manager, then you do have to kind of step into that role
Mm-hmm.
and make sure there's alignment, make sure things are getting tracked. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a role you inherit if there is none, if there is no project manager, as the product owner, you kind of step into that to make sure it's
Mm-hmm.
all happening cohesively and
Yeah.
people are doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it, etc. So,
Exactly. So, Sam, I know our viewers who are watching this video might be new to the concept of product manager and product owner. So, if you have to help them understand what is the basic difference between these two.
the basic difference between these two, let's see. Well, I would say there's definitely overlapping
Mhm.
responsibilities at times. So the project manager is really the person who is, herding cats. They're setting up meetings, making sure the right people are regularly meeting, and they're typically tracking action items. They've got, either an Excel document or some kind of
Mhm.
tracking system that they're showing visually. They're setting dates for things that are due. They're tracking action items, following up with the team, and really just like overseeing um, the project completion process,
Mhm.
if you will. Um, I think the difference between project manager and product owner is, the product owner is working a lot more closely with the team, like the people who are implementing the work, working much closer with stakeholders to understand business needs and problems that they're facing, or
Mhm.
um, coming up with product strategy, understanding the product that we're creating and that we're building and that like where we're headed. And so it's a little more of a creative role, more integrated into the team, and the project manager is really overseeing just the process of the people and making
Mhm.
sure things are delivered. I know I would say there's more to it than that, and I'm sure
Mhm.
somebody watching would say
Yeah.
that there's more to it than that, and there is, but I would say those are the two kind of differences that I would distinguish between the two. But there is a lot of overlap, and there are times when a project manager becomes somewhat of a product owner, and when a product owner becomes somewhat of a project manager, if there's no project manager available, right, somebody has to track things and somebody has to be that person. So
Okay.
they're interchangeable, but there is a difference.
Yeah.
The product owner is managing the backlog, working on stories, refinement, making sure people are, on track for whatever the roadmap is. Um, and well, the project manager could also be tracking on the roadmap, but I don't think they're really in the backlog. They're not refining stories. They're not doing this, so the product owner is a little more hands-on, a little more in the weeds with the team and leading the way in terms of the direction of the product, whereas product manager is just making sure things are getting done and things are getting tracked and bringing people together, making sure everyone's working together. So that's a lot to say.
Yeah, I believe that provides clarity to our viewers, Sam, I would say. And if you're watching, which career switch are you looking for? Do you want to be a product owner or a project manager? Put that in the comments. So I'm talking about conflicts and communication breakdowns, which I believe are pretty inevitable, be it a small organization or a large organization. So how do you handle such scenarios?
I think depending on, well, not really depending on who it is. I think a lot of the conflict or anything that does come up, the first thing is just reaching out to people directly. I know there are times where things can get a little heated in a meeting, for example, between two people, or maybe you're presenting something and someone isn't excited about it or has questions or is concerned. A lot of the strategy that I would, recommend works best is just taking things offline and having conversations with people directly, whether that be a stakeholder or someone on your team. But really just understanding their perspective, understanding where they're coming from, you know, um, listening, a lot of listening,
Yeah.
not a lot of, not a lot of talking. It's really just listening to people, letting them air their concerns and really getting it out on the table. And then I think just, it's a part of that relationship building, um, and having those relationships. So when things do come up, you can have those conversations and there's some trust there, so that it's not as difficult to get through. Um, Sometimes it involves also encouraging other people to talk to other people directly. So, because it's not always that it's conflict with me and someone else. It's often between two team members or
Yeah.
somebody's upset with somebody else. And so I often will just suggest to them, have you tried reaching out to them and, you know, talking to them directly? And oftentimes people have not yet done that. So I think just encouraging people to have conversations is a part of it as well. Usually the fastest route to just getting over it through it. So
Yeah, yeah, I believe listening is one of those skills, Sam, which is getting extinct.
yeah.
Right. I believe that's one of the critical pieces to have when in case there are conflicts. Now that the next piece, the next segment is for accessibility by design, Sam. Let's talk accessibility now. At what
Okay.
point in your project, Sam, do you bring accessibility into the conversation?
I think it's interesting that you asked this question because, when we worked together and we started a project, accessibility was, I mean, in the beginning, not always on the forefront, but over time, once we realized the importance of understanding the complexities of the interface that we were building and how important it was to have that conversation up front
Yeah.
about accessibility was, and how doing it now would save us so much time and energy and
Yeah.
money later fixing it. So when I started thinking about this question and the timing in which it happens, I started to think it really kind of depends on the medium or the product or the service that you're offering, right? Because for example, I work now on modernization of data systems, right? So that's a big part of what we do is
Mhm.
modernizing old systems. Um, so typically in that process, when it comes to accessibility, right, we're focused on, making sure people understand what data is what, right? Like something's named something super
Mhm.
funky. Nobody knows what that even means. And we want to make sure there's transparency around the meaning behind the data for all people and just making sure it's accessible and
Mhm.
understood by all when they're analyzing it. Um, so I think it was a little bit of I think it needs to be included in the beginning conversations, but I would say
Mhm.
definitely specific to whatever product you're using, you know, um, do you know what I'm saying? What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that? I mean,
Yeah, I agree with that, Sam. It should be as early as possible in your SDLC. We call in the technical term, we call it at shift left. Earlier, you find it's much cheaper to fix accessibility rather than
yeah,
doing or retrofitting at the end.
yeah,
But yeah, I
yep,
completely agree with that point.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, in terms of, let's say, you have been in this role for quite some time now, Sam, right? When you are thinking about accessibility or inclusion, has there been any moment in your career where it helped avoid a disaster, or it was like aha moment for you and your team?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely an aha moment, actually. I remember when we were working together at the exchange, and I don't know if you remember this
Mm-hmm.
moment, but there was a point in time where we had tested the system and we realized that just one of the core functions was not achievable through the keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
utilization. So someone who was using a keyboard or a screen reader was not able to get through this like crucial step in the process of applying for care, for insurance, for Medicaid, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge finding. And we ended up bringing it to leadership and to executives. And we had already agreed to the changes that were going into that next cycle. And this
Yeah.
wasn't one of them. And so we had to have a couple conversations with different individuals and just explain how crucial this
Mm-hmm.
finding was and how important it was that we fix this. So we did end up fixing it and it got all cleaned up in the code and everything was all
Mm-hmm.
kosher. But yeah, it was a big finding and just such a critical finding. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember this. Do you remember
Yeah.
this? Were you
Yep, absolutely. I do
critical
recall all our.
system? I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, that was one of the go no go calls for our viewers who don't know what go no go is. It's when the entire team decides whether the release should be going into the production or not. And that's what Sam mentioned about we identified an issue and we fixed it. But yeah, great memories, Sam.
Great times, great
Yeah.
times.
Sam, for anyone who is getting new into the product ownership or product management, what would be the one thing that can really make a difference?
I think really emerging into the world of accessibility and why it's important,
Mm-hmm.
understanding how individuals are utilizing services and products differently. I think when you have that eye-opening experience and understand that, not all individuals are able-bodied and
Mm-hmm.
able-lined and able-sight, etc., that you start thinking about the design process much differently.
Yeah.
So I think just getting to know different abilities and
Yeah.
how people are accessing your products and services,
Yeah.
whether it's digital or in person or experience, that there's so many different facets to it and different
Mm-hmm.
abilities that humans experience, in their day-to-day lives that we just don't think about. So
Yeah.
I think getting to know the different abilities and the different challenges that people face,
Mm-hmm.
uh, applicable to your product or your service,
Yeah.
I think would be a good place to start. Um, and then learning about what's out there, right, related to your product or service. So, yes, understanding the people and why, and there's so much information out there. And once you know, you see it everywhere. I remember learning about accessibility, just of environments at some point. And now everywhere I go, I'm like, God, these roads are so inaccessible. Or like, wow, how is someone supposed to open this door in a wheelchair? You just start getting kind of agitated because it's so inaccessible in some places. And same with the digital world.
Yes.
So I think once you know it and you understand it and you empathize with those people, you start to see it everywhere. And it kind of drives you to want to help make that change. And might drive you a little crazy too, because some things are so terribly designed that
Yes.
it's just completely inaccessible for some individuals. And so it's aggravating. But yeah, I think just understanding the people who are using your product or who could be using your service and different experiences they might be having or challenges they might be facing. And then learning on the other side of the coin, once you've identified that, the solutions that are out there. I mean, there's so many solutions out there. It's insane. And some innovations that are so cool. It's just a matter of more people adopting these innovations, right? And learning what they are and learning how to do it and then implementing it. It's just really a lack of knowledge and understanding that people don't realize things can be more accessible, first of all. And second of all, that there's a way to do it differently that creates accessibility for all.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, the coolest thing I saw recently was this. I think they're implementing it at NBA games. It's like a this little keypad that has the basketball court on the keypad for users who are blind, right, or not able to see. And they're able to actually feel where the ball is on the court on this pad and like interact with the game. They can see like where the players are, where the ball's going, where it's moving, when a shot is made, it vibrates, like so they can actually experience the whole game, right? Ordinarily. And I know the NBA had, I think a couple different NBA teams have picked it up, and I think they're trying to do soccer now,
Okay.
or football. And just, understanding the possibilities that are out there for your type of product or service, and that you can do something extremely innovative and accessible for people, likely not in the same way that it's always been done. Like there's a new way to do it, right? So
Absolutely.
just education and awareness is huge. So
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's a very interesting scenario regarding the NBA introducing that tactile where you can feel what's happening on the field. So
yeah,
I'll try to find that link and share with my viewers.
yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, our next segment is about the business impact and inclusion. We are talking about accessibility, inclusion. So, with your experience, how have you seen inclusive product delivery actually impacts the user adoption or drive the business results?
I think one of the things that comes to mind, and you can scrap this if you want, but we tried when we were creating this. I think we were together on this for the password process at the exchange when we were redesigning like the reset password process for
Yeah.
individuals. And at the time of its inception, it was like the password characters, you had to have uppercase, lowercase, it had to be over 12 characters. It couldn't include these characters. And it was so challenging to create a password for any individual, let alone somebody who might have cognitive disabilities, or maybe they, are having a hard time just navigating the page because they are not able to see, and now they're aggravated because they're trying to reset a password or create a password, and it's so excruciatingly painful to go through that process. So when we were able to adopt a new way of allowing for a password to be any number of characters as long as it was a certain length, which was what Amazon had done at the time. So there was this new way of creating a more complex password on the back end where you didn't have to have all these weird characters and crazy exceptions, to everything. we were able to track the analytics for individuals who were hitting the lock screen because, when
Mhm.
you first try to change your password, you get 3 attempts, then it locks you out.
Yes.
Right. And then you have to wait 30 minutes. And then it's like, if you try again, then it locks you up for even longer. It's like 24 hours or something crazy. So people are getting locked out regularly. Right. Like we were able to see the
Mhm.
analytics on the page. They were landing on the locked out page. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Um, and so when we implemented this change to the password and made it more inclusive, made it much more accessible and easy to reset, easy to create, we saw just an instrumental change in the percentage of individuals. It was like a 75%
Mhm.
drop
Wow.
at lock page or something crazy, 75 to like 85%
Mhm.
drop on that page. So we were able to see the analytics shift from people continuously getting locked out, continuously missing the opportunity. They may or may not have
Mhm.
time to sit there and wait, or maybe they're like, forget it, I'm not going to apply,
Yeah.
or what have you. So it was really cool to see those crazy drastic percentage
Mhm.
changes after implementing something like that, and just seeing the difference it can make.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. It was pretty powerful. We were excited to share
Yeah.
that data.
Yeah. It's interesting. You're bringing a lot of memories back from the past time. I read
Yeah.
a letter from Vincent, the RCIO at Washington at that time. In one of his letters to the other chief information officers at the states, he mentioned after we were done with the accessibility roadmap or shift, we were able to reduce the error rate by 85%. And the error density at that time was 2.25%. So that was pretty awesome that we did together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Sam, do you believe with accessibility, we can open up to new markets, have new customer segments being
Mhm.
explored that are often overlooked?
Oh, I absolutely 100% believe that. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's so many individuals who are wanting to access services and products, and because the barriers are still there for them, they're either just not doing it, not
Mm-hmm.
interested. It's just not worth it. It's like any user experience, right?
Yeah.
If I go to a website and the interface is so bad that I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I will not interact, right?
Yeah.
Or if something takes so long that I can't get through it within a certain amount of time, I think as a user, you have expectations of how
Yeah.
something will go. And so I think there's a lot of individuals who just don't even either think or act
Mm-hmm.
on a service or product because they know the challenges that they might face. I mean, I know
Yeah.
even traveling on an airplane, for example, for an individual in a wheelchair or somebody who might not be able-bodied, um, can be extremely challenging. I mean, traveling in general, able-bodied, right, for long periods of time, but let alone somebody with a wheelchair. They can't even
Yeah.
get through the wheelchair aisle for the love of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think there's a huge, huge margin, a
Mm-hmm.
huge potential for an increase in products and services and
Mm-hmm.
businesses to expand into more accessible space. And there's a huge market for this, right? A huge market. I mean, you could look at so many different markets. Like, so airlines is one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Airlines,
Mm-hmm.
one massive one, massive one. I know I've heard and met many individuals who do not fly because, and they're in wheelchairs because
Mm-hmm.
of the challenges they face during flying, right?
Yeah.
So, that's one major one. I mean, if you think of like spas,
Yeah.
and health services,
Mm-hmm.
just having the accessibility to these relaxation experiences or self-care experiences. I mean, it's just not created
Yeah.
specifically for people who are not able-bodied,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of um, work to be done in this space. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even just experiences in the physical world, right?
Yeah.
For people who are not able-bodied. I think there's so much that could be done,
Mm-hmm.
and such a huge market for this for
Yeah.
businesses. If you think about this huge group of people who you're missing
Yeah.
mark on, um, there's a huge opportunity there for
Yeah.
both.
Absolutely.
If if anyone were to champion accessibility as a part of their business, and that was one of the differentiating factors of their business model or their business plan, guarantee, I mean, I of course I can't guarantee it, but just the likeliness and percentage of that alone adding to the business value, I mean, would be huge. So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you rightly mentioned it's not only the digital space that we are looking at, it's all about every other infrastructure out there.
Yeah.
Because if you have consumers, regular consumers, there are consumers with disabilities. So if you are building for them, you're increasing your perspective of getting their share
Right.
of
Right.
of their income. So
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
great insight, Sam. Sam, our next section is regarding AI's role in project management. So everyone is talking about AI. How do you see it shaping the project management space?
The project management space, how do I see it shaping the project management space? I mean, I'm a big fan of AI.
Mhm,
So, I know I have people in my life who are like very anti AI,
mhm,
either professionally or personally. And then I have others who are open to it. I would call myself like a more bleeding edge type person
mhm,
where I've been very much on board with figuring out how AI can streamline any and everything in my life from like, creating my agenda for the
mhm,
day and maximizing on my agenda for the day or figuring out a potential like product roadmap for the next 2 years, given
mhm,
all these strategies and all this information plugged into it, right? And training it to understand the vision and, all these things. So I'm a huge proponent for it. And I would say anyone who is not using it now professionally and maybe a naysayer really needs to reconsider. Otherwise, you will fall behind. You
yes.
will. You're already behind if you
Mhm,
haven't started incorporating it into your process and
yeah,
figuring out how to really it speeds things up, right? It's doing things for you that you already know how to do, but it's doing it at an exponential rate, right? So
mhm,
you can get things done faster. You can get things
yes,
done much faster and you can deliver value much faster, which is really the ultimate goal, right? So who cares if you're using it or not?
yes,
Ultimately, you're delivering more value more quickly
yeah,
to more people and having more impact. How is that a bad thing, right? So, I mean, I would say there's a lot to learn about how it works and,
mhm,
training, etc. I One of the coolest trainings I took on AI was actually through Masterclass, the app. So I don't know if you do Masterclass at all, but Masterclass is like an app
mhm,
on Apple or other platforms, I'm sure available, where they have experts in fields like talking about different things.
mhm,
And one of them was about AI and how to utilize it. In your kind of everyday life and professionally. And so, yeah,
mhm,
I think there's a big opportunity for project managers and really anyone in any professional capacity to utilize
okay,
it. There's some things that it's really great at. There's other things that it's not so great at. So I think learning about what it can and can't do and what its limitations are. But
yeah,
when it comes to project management, it can be a very helpful tool. If not, I mean, project management, you have a lot of human interaction. So it
yeah,
can't completely take it over and it can't do all of the critical thinking for you, but it can
mhm,
help you get to like a baseline, right?
yes,
It can listen to all your ideas and all your plans and thoughts and come up with some kind of a draft of a plan for
mhm,
you that
mhm,
gets you started, and you use that and you go with that and kind of build on it. So
mhm,
I use it for creating agendas for meetings, talking
yes,
points. I really need to understand this about this in a meeting. Like, can you give me some talking points? I mean,
yeah,
in a clutch. I mean, I've been in meetings before
yeah,
where I'm like thinking about things or wondering about something, and I'm like, huh, if I look up something really quickly and then
yeah,
I'm able to adapt so much more quickly now that I
mhm,
have this like superpower, super brain on my side,
yeah,
helping me along. So I see it as like the ultimate
yeah,
sidekick or, ultimate assistant.
yes,
It's really amazing if you
mhm,
understand how to leverage it.
yes,
Um, Again, there's a lot of information on AI and other ways that it's being utilized. And so yeah, I see that there's definitely a difference in how people can perceive it. But I think if you see it as a way of doing things faster and more efficiently and think of it in more of a professional way and how you can use it to leverage to do things more quickly and more efficiently,
Yeah.
it's absolutely worth it and a game changer. And I think businesses who are not thinking about it or are not implementing it or not doing anything about it and are staying away from it are going to fall way, way behind.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, Sam. I read somewhere. Yeah, it said AI is not going to replace people, but AI is going to replace people who are not using AI. So, if you're not using it, better start using it.
Exactly.
Okay. So, Sam, if you want to list out any 3 or 5 AI tools that you use on daily basis for our viewers to increase their productivity, what would those be?
I mean, I have my proprietary one that I use, which is ChatGPT. I do have the advanced version. There's different tiers where you can pay for the different tiers. So I have a paid version that I use. Um, I've kind of dabbled in some other platforms, and I think I would actually, when thinking about what other platforms are available, I need to expand my horizons. I've tried other platforms on more of like the design side of the house, and I think that it's not quite there yet. So it's not as there, like I said, there are some things that it's good at right now and some things it's not so great at. And so I think in terms of utilizing at least the apps I've experienced for design purposes and some conceptualization, like there's some decent ones, but I haven't really nailed down one that I would recommend. But I would say at least to get started with is ChatGPT, or maybe for someone else that might be Microsoft Copilot, which I know for the state, for example, I think they're trying to kind of roll that slowly in and see how that goes as a state agency. So, um, yeah, I would definitely recommend ChatGPT as as my personal favorite. I don't know what tools you use, Prom. I'm curious now that you ask me.
Well, I have
Do you use
used,
any?
yeah, I use ChatGPT a lot, right? Drafting those emails, it saves you ton of time.
Yeah.
Putting up your calendar, yes, why not?
Yeah.
It's same like if you want to go to Seattle, right? Even though there are cars, but we have planes, right? It helps you reach there faster. If you're not using ChatGPT, I don't know what you're doing. I'll be that honest with you.
Really don't. I like
Yeah.
that. You're gonna fall behind. And I think you
Yes.
made a great point that it's not that AI is gonna be replacing
Yeah.
people. It's people who are using AI will be replacing people who are not using AI.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely true. And it's
Yeah.
not already. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's definitely here to stay. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm implored to even look more further into other apps too. I think that
Yeah.
there's probably some out there that I could benefit
Mm-hmm.
from. I know some people use Claude as well. I know I've heard good
Yes.
about Claude, like
Mm-hmm.
a personal assistant. I've seen there's one app, oh, I forget the name, but it's like you can run your entire business from it. Like they have an accountant, they have like
Mm-hmm.
different little characters like that
Okay.
you have on your team. It's like I don't know, I forget the name of it, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, there's a lot out there, so
Yeah.
it's worth looking into.
They're evolving AI as we speak, Sam. So by the time this gets published, you may have something here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So Sam, what would be one piece of advice you wish someone had told you when you just getting started?
Which I would say as a product owner, I think it's more of the mentality of, there will be times when things are extremely difficult as a product owner, on a team of any kind, and just understanding that this is just a part of the process. It can be very painful going through some of the sprint cycles or releases, etc. Very stressful, very frustrating. And I think at the end of the day, just knowing that it's a cyclical experience and there will be times when it does get stressful and it is uh overwhelming, but that this too shall pass. You know, that this will
Absolutely.
not be this way forever, right?
Yeah.
It's just temporary, and it's that cyclical, like,
Mhm.
um, adaptive experience where there's just continuous improvement. It's never going to be this way forever.
Yeah.
It will improve, it will get better over time. And just remembering, like, that piece of the mentality of being a product owner, that it's just continuous improvement and not putting so much
Mhm.
pressure on yourself to get it right and perfectly the first time.
Yeah.
Just giving
Yeah.
yourself grace and your team grace. And so that's what I would say.
Absolutely, Sam. It's more about it's a journey. You have to
Yeah.
stay strong, stay on your
Yeah.
course, and everything will fall in place.
Yeah. Yes,
Awesome.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation, Sam. It
Thank
was
you.
absolutely, it was like one of those jam sessions that we used to have, but now every one of our audience get to see.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for having me. It's been really fun.
absolutely. Thanks, Sam. What's the one insight you're taking away from today? Was it the accessibility first mindset? Or the way Sam aligns vendors and stakeholders? Or maybe her perspective on AI shaping the future of project management? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if this conversation gave you a value add, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's building their own career in project management.